The story is about an 18-year-old male who goes to help his aunt and uncle out in a different state because they promised him a contractual agreement to a job helping raise their children with the other nanny. Little does OP know that this is about to become one wild ride. My name's Mr. Reddito. I cannot wait to jump into this story. I do have 3 stories for you today, so let's get right to it. The premiere story of the day is happening right now. I'm an 18-year-old guy, and I had just moved to UT in May of 2021, after living in a different state for 18 years, and had just finished my senior year of high school. I had never worked a full-time job, but I had worked 3 part-time jobs in food service and retail. After moving to UT, my uncle texted a group chat of all my aunts and uncles on my dad's side, plus my parents in July of 2021. One of their 2 live-in nannies was moving back to Brazil for a family emergency. They asked if any of the young adult nieces or nephews would want to come live with them in Connecticut and be a live-in nanny till just about December 2022. Well, I didn't have a job at the time and was actively looking for one, so I told my mom, who asked if I would be interested, to let my aunt and uncle know that I would be willing to go. I didn't really know my aunt and uncle very well. I'd only really interacted with them at big family gatherings that we had every 4 years or so. So, after 1.5 months of interviews and getting a contract signed, I packed the bare minimum of what I would need in a carry-on, personal items, my book bag, and 1 checked bag, and flew to Connecticut. The contract stated that I would be getting $375 a week and all my food, housing, I had a room in the addition of their house, car, and phone bill would be paid for. Some relevant info about the pay was that the other live-in nanny had all the same benefits but only $200 a week. I had to get them to raise my pay because I wouldn't go if it was just $200. The contract also stated that the household chores, such as the boys' laundry, sweeping, vacuuming, and cleaning various rooms in the house, and a few others, were to be completed by both nannies. There was a clause that said that if one nanny was doing more of the child care than the other nanny, the nanny would take more of the household chores. But not all of them. Guys, that clause is very important. The last relevant info of the contract was that any amends to the contract must be agreed by both parties. This would take a new contract signed by all parties involved. That same section of the contract also states that the contract's still in effect for a month if either party terminates it. Example, we each need to give a month notice of termination. Okay, here's the story. So, I arrived in Connecticut in mid-October. The first 2 months went well enough. I wasn't used to working full-time, but I managed. At around 2 weeks before Christmas, I started to interact with my aunt a lot more. Not knowing a lot about her, I was excited to get to know her. After a while, I started to notice she's treating me like a kid. I was taken aback by this because, well, I was taking care of her 4 kids, yet she treated me like one of them. I brushed it off for the most part. Then, about 2 days before I flew home for Christmas, she made a comment to the oldest, quote, "Big boys don't cry. They work, fix the problem, not cry about it." Well, this made me mad because she was a child psychologist. A comment like that is one of the reasons I have trouble expressing my emotions. With that as her job, she was the last person I expected to make a comment like that. I left 2 days after to go home to UT to spend Christmas with my family. Enter the first week January, the week I got back from UT. I came downstairs one morning to see a piece of paper that says OP's to-do list. Now, this to-do list have every single household chore that the contract states the live-in nannies have to do. Now, I don't like confrontation when I can't control most of the situation, so I call my mom and let her know what happened. She tells me to talk to my uncle and tell him that this is a violation of my contract. As a lawyer, my mom was surprised that he would make this list, as it directly violated the contract. I go and talk to my uncle later that day. I show him the list. He tried to argue that the household chores don't need to be split 50-50, citing the clause underneath. I then point out the final line of said clause, being that not all of the chores can fall upon one nanny. He then took the list and crossed off the line that said, "Pack a snack for the boys for school," and said that the other nanny would do that. This was the easiest task of them all by far. At this point, there was nothing I could do. 2 weeks later, and I'm struggling to get all the chores done by the time I'm done working. My aunt and uncle have noticed this. To help me get better at getting them all done, they just give me reminders ever so often on what needs to be done. This is making me more stressed than I already am. Now, after a week of this, the other nanny's contract is expiring. Instead of renewing, she leaves and goes to work for a different family 30 minutes away. During this time, my aunt and uncle interview a new nanny. The new nanny is waiting to get a visa to the US. It's a week before they would arrive here. During this week, I'm now tasked with 100% of the chores. I'm working about 12 hours a day, from Monday to Saturday. I spend this week working my butt off to try to get all the chores done and take care of the 4 kids. As to be expected, I fall behind. I can't complete the laundry list of items I should get done by the end of the day. I get these reminders of all the tasks I haven't done, still needing to be done. That week feels like it took an eternity. By the end, I'm stressed that I'm now having panic attacks at the end of every day, and crying myself to sleep almost every night. The start of the next week, the final week in January, the nanny arrives. He's a super nice guy. He's able to get the hang of stuff very quickly. I start to feel a huge weight off my shoulders when he finally does arrive. That week passes without much happening. I get into a groove and my stress levels are coming down. Then Sunday arrives. I'm about to go to bed after a long Zoom call with my girlfriend at the time. We've been long distance since my move in May of 2021. When I get a text from my aunt asking me to come downstairs to talk to her and my uncle. I'm a little confused as to what it is they want to talk about, but I go downstairs and talk with them. They both explain that I'm not doing well enough for them to feel good about paying me $375 a week. They told me that if the other nanny found out that I was getting paid more for doing what they felt was less work, it would be a difficult situation for them. They wanted to lower my pay to $200 a week that the other nanny was making. Then they said I would be able to get back my $375 a week by proving to them that I could do more work. As I said, I'm not a fan of confrontation when I cannot control the situation. So I said okay and quickly ran upstairs and cried for a solid 30 minutes. Afterwards, I called my mom to explain what was going on. My mom told me what they were doing was not okay by any means. In fact, it's quite illegal. She told me that I was going to need to stand up to myself and tell them no. I was so emotionally charged that I decided to wait till Monday to confront them about it. Monday, I was thankfully off. I took the day to prepare myself emotionally, as well as get a game plan for what to say. I waited till later that night to talk to them so the kids would not overhear or distract me. I told them cutting my pay down was illegal, that it could only be done if a new contract was drafted and signed and agreed by all of us. Even if that was the case, which it's not, it would still take a month before coming into effect. I told them that I refused to sign another contract with that pay. I only took this job because of the $375. Well, I gave them the ultimatum that either pay me my full wage moving forward, or this was my last month notice. They both whispered to each other for what felt like an eternity, turned to me and said, "I guess it's your 1 month notice then." I told them okay, and they still have to pay me $375 a week for the remainder of the month. They looked at each other, and my uncle said that they would go week by week to see if I had earned the $375 that week. I told them, okay, you want to play like that? But if they decided they had not earned the $375 and paid me the $200, I would leave the next Monday, as that would be a violation of the contract, and I therefore would consider the contract null and void and leave. My uncle backtracked real quick, saying, well, OP, I don't think this is the best decision for you to make." And I can't make this next part up. "I think it's more about the spirit of the contract, not the letter." My uncle, the lawyer, said that Jim. I had to hold in my laughter. I started to walk upstairs and responded as I walked away, "I wonder how that would hold up in court. Food for thought." As I walked to my room, I felt so powerful, and I had the biggest grin on my face. That night, I booked flights for a month in advance and paid for the option to change the flight date without a fee, so that I could change my flights and leave if my pay was docked. For 2 weeks, I felt so good. I had a wave of relief that felt like all the weight I've been carrying was gone. The second to last week of my stay was about halfway through, when my aunt and uncle used their kids to try to manipulate me into staying. The kids would say things like, why are you leaving? Mommy and Daddy told us that it's because you hate us. You don't hate us, do you?" Among others. Then came Friday, the day I get paid. I woke up to see that I only had $200 deposited into my bank. I was supposed to work that day and the next. I wasn't supposed to start till 1 p.m. that day. I texted my aunt who handled my pay and told her I had $175 missing from this past week. She told me that I have not earned my full wage this week. Oh my gosh. I told her, okay, guess I won't work for the rest of this week. She then came and banged on my bedroom door, demanding to come in. I told her she could come in. She opened the door and began to yell at me that I had to work. I was on the schedule. Who was going to take the kids to their swimming lessons today? I said, I don't know, that's not my issue. She got super red and went on saying, "Yes, it is. You're on the schedule for today. It's your responsibility." To which I calmly replied, "Well, if you pay me the other $175 you owe me, then I'll gladly do it. But since I haven't earned it, then why should I keep working? You violated the contract. If you don't pay me, then I won't work. Simple as that. Also, if you don't want to pay me my legal contractual wage, then I will also move my flight to Monday." She gave me a look I can only describe as the look of death. And then I said, "You're right. You've earned it. It's more about the spirit of the contract than the letter anyways. Please, we're family. Why can't you just help us out?" All I said was, "It's not my problem if you don't pay me. I could very easily sue both of you for the contract violation and win. But you're right, you're family, so I won't. I should help family, right?" She just stormed off. I ignored all text and calls from my aunt and uncle about me needing to do this or that or something. I waited till the end of the day to see if I got my other $175. I wasn't surprised when it did not show up. The next morning, I called and got my flights changed to that following Monday. I screenshotted the flight confirmation and sent it to both of them to show I was leaving. I again ignored all the calls and texts about, you need this or you need that, asking me to reconsider. I spent the day and the next day packing everything up I had. Sunday evening, I got a text to the group chat with my aunt, my uncle, and the other nanny with that week's schedule. It had me working Monday to Friday. My aunt and uncle had to go into the office on Mondays early in the morning. I wasn't supposed to work till that afternoon. On that Monday morning, after they left for work and the kids were at school or with the other nanny, I left a note on the counter for the other nanny and my aunt and uncle. It was just a goodbye, nothing fancy. I got in an Uber and got on my plane at home at noon. When I landed in UT and turned off airplane mode, my phone blew up with text and missed calls from my aunt and uncle asking where I was supposed to be working, etc. Like, what? I sent one text to them saying, I left a note, I told you I was leaving today. Just because I'm on the schedule doesn't mean I have to work. Good luck finding a new nanny. And then proceeded to block them and the other nanny. When I got back to my house, my mom and dad told me about all these things that my aunt and uncle said I did. I told them what happened and showed them all the text and call logs. My dad then called my uncle and gave him an earful about disrespecting me. And what if he was in my shoes? He would have sued you both, no questions asked, and hung up. It's been 4 months since then, and my aunt and uncle have been all but cut off of my dad's side of the family once they tried to use them to get at me and my parents. I'm now working full-time at a much better job and learned how to stand up to unreasonable bosses. This story was so hard to watch because I truly think the aunt and uncle are narcissistic abusers. I'm very glad OP knew that this was not right and got out of this situation and did not accept the $200 a week. That's like a scam, and literally this is family we're talking about. Guys, let me know exactly what you think of this story. Tell me in the comment section down below. If you were OP and your aunt and uncle tried to pull this stunt on you, what would you do? I would love to hear your answer. Okay, we still have 2 more stories left in today's video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, smash that subscribe button as it's the best way to support me. And let's hop into the next story now. My siblings, 24 male, 22 female, and I, 26 male, were raised by a single dad who's 45. Our dad was great. He was loving and caring and always put us first. Because of this, we never missed our deadbeat mom. My dad even sacrificed his love life. He never dated anyone. My brother, 24 male, disowned our dad around 3 years ago. For a reason I'd also disown him, to be honest. My brother found out dad and his then girlfriend, 27, was doing it. Thus my brother got mad at my dad and cut him off, moved out of the house and went to live with some friends. No matter how hard my dad's tried to apologize and reach out to him, my brother ignores him. My dad has suffered a lot because of this and has gotten mad at us many times since my sister and I know where my brother lives. We have visited him a couple times, and he demands we let him know. But we can't, because my brother threatens that if we ever tell him, he'll go no contact with us. The thing is, this woman got pregnant with twins, but she didn't feel like being a mom, so she left them to my dad. My dad tells everyone that he's raising his grandkids. He swears they are my brother's, but I'm not sure they are since my brother says he used protection. The kids turned 2 male a couple days ago, and he hosted a small party. So my uncle started asking about my brother. Asked the kid's father since no one in the family knew what happened. So my dad started talking crap about my brother, saying that he was an ungrateful son and a terrible father for leaving 2 kids behind. I think my dad's angry at my brother for not forgiving him. as everyone in the family sees my dad as an example for the sacrifices he did. Well, the other family starts talking crap about my brother too. I love you, Dad, with my whole heart, and I'd do anything for that man. I know all my siblings would, but he tried to portray my brother as a bad guy. And I love my brother, so I told him, quote, "He wouldn't have disowned you if you hadn't ducked his girlfriend and got her pregnant." Well, everyone looked at him and he tried to excuse his actions, but everyone told him to duck off. They've called my brother to apologize, but my dad is so angry with me. He says this is a family matter and I should have just kept my mouth shut. My wife says I did the right thing, but my sister is on my dad's side. So, am I the a-hole? If I could say not the a-hole 1,000 times for this story, I would. I am so glad OP stood up for the brother. Let me read one comment that I came across. I do agree with it. It says, "Not the a-hole." Quoted, "He says this is a family matter." Which family? The one whose origin he's lying about? The one he's trying to lie to? Or the one he wants to make complicit in those lies? Regardless, this is 100% about him going out of his way to try to throw your brother under the bus and somehow expecting no one to call him out on it. And he really still wonders why no one wants to help him get back in touch with the guy. I do agree with that comment, as it hit every single base I wanted to cover. Let me know if you agree in the comment section down below. There's still one more final story left in today's video, so let's get right into it. I'm 40 male, a widower, and father of 2 boys. 17 male and 14 male. My wife died 7 years ago. My sister's 39 and has a 16-year-old gay son. She is a single mother. Father was never there. My 16-year-old nephew spends basically a few hours every day at my house, and only goes home to sleep, because my sister is not the nicest person. CPS never did anything. There was no immediate threat. He's just waiting to turn 18 to move out, and I already told him a room in my house will be available for him. My sister and most of my family is now pissed because at his 16th birthday party this happened. We were having cake at my sister's apartment, and she said to her son, "Stop sitting like that. Sit like a man." He had his legs crossed. Well, he uncrossed his legs and said nothing. Later, my sister made a toast with so many embarrassing stories it made my stomach turn. How he cried when his friend, boyfriend at the time, got COVID and nearly died. How he is, quote, a bit on the faulty side because he never had a father. How he, quote, threw a tantrum when she told him which girl he should date, a friend's daughter or something. And at the end of the toast, the kid was downright swallowing tears. I had enough, and I told my sister she's being awful to him and should at least pretend to respect her own son. She told me to mind my own business and not tell her what kind of atrocities she needs to allow in her home. My nephew just started crying then. I took my spare key out of my wallet. The whole family was watching because sister was yelling, and I gave it to my nephew. I told him I'll clean up the empty room and make it his bedroom, and he can come there whenever he needs for however long he needs. Well, sister got furious and started yelling. I got up to leave with my kids, and my nephew just followed us. As we were leaving, sister yelled that she'll come get her son back, but I told her I'll file a motion to grant me a temporary custody due to child endangerment. Well, long story short, my family is very mad, as is my sister. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I don't know what the nephew would do if he did not have OP in his corner fighting for him against his vile mother. This mother is supposed to love him and protect her baby boy, but instead, she trashes him in front of family and makes him feel awful. Like I said, I'm so glad the nephew has OP. Let me know your thoughts on this story. Do you guys think this is one of the most vile moms or not? Drop the comments down below. You guys know I love listening and reading your comments. Mr. Reddito has no more stories for you today. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss these stories as we read daily stories on this channel and the second channel called Mr. Reddito Stories. Okay guys, have a wonderful night and I'll catch y'all tomorrow.